Have you ever found yourself drifting away from social gatherings, preferring the quiet comfort of your own home instead? As we age, our perspectives on friendship and socializing often change, leading us to cherish solitude more than ever before. In this video, we'll explore the journey from being sociable to embracing solitude, why this shift happens, and how it can lead to a more peaceful and fulfilling life in our later years. Stay with us until the end to discover the 3 surprising reasons why solitude might just be the key to true happiness as we grow older. If you are not subscribed, I recommend subscribing and activating the notification bell so you don't miss any videos. Your support means a lot to me, and if you enjoyed this video, you can help me continue spreading the valuable lessons by liking and sharing it. If you like the topic of this video, please comment 1. If you don't, please comment 0 to let me know how I can improve and make better videos for you. Now, let's begin. When we were younger, there was a certain joy in inviting friends over to our homes for a meal or just to sit around and chat. It wasn't just about the food or the conversations, it was about the freedom we felt in the comfort of our own space. Unlike in restaurants, where the environment could sometimes feel stifling or too formal, our homes offered a sanctuary where conversations could flow freely, unbounded by the constraints of public spaces. There was a warmth in those gatherings, a sense of camaraderie that deepened our friendships. Each visit, whether we were the hosts or the guests, added another layer to the bond we shared. Back then, we cherished these sincere connections, believing that genuine friendships were one of the purest joys life could offer. However, as time has passed, I've noticed a disheartening shift. Those sincere friendships that once seemed so abundant have become increasingly rare. The world around us has grown more cynical, and in many ways, hypocrisy has become the norm. It's heartbreaking to see how the genuine hearts that once thrived in our social circles have hardened, influenced by the pervasive insincerity in society. There's a saying that goes, "Those who approach red become red, those who approach ink become black." It resonates deeply with me because it reflects how even the most genuine of us can change in response to our environment. Over time, I've noticed that we start to guard our hearts more closely, becoming less inclined to welcome others into our personal spaces. The open doors of our youth gradually close, not out of bitterness, but out of self-preservation. Take old Lay, for instance, who at 50 years old has embraced a life of solitude. There was a time when his home was always open to friends, filled with laughter and conversation. But now, he finds comfort in the quiet moments alone, whether it's staying home with a good book or going out for a solitary walk. Even when friends do come around, the meetings are often held at a restaurant rather than in the intimacy of his home. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 1 below to let me know that you are still here with me. A relative once asked him, "You used to be so warm and welcoming, why have you become so distant?" His response was simple yet profound. As we age, our priorities shift. The things that once brought us joy might no longer hold the same appeal. For old Lale, the tranquility of a quiet daily life, the simple pleasures of tea, gardening, or fishing, and the cherished moments with family have taken precedence over the socializing that once defined his youth. I can't help but feel a mix of sadness and understanding as I reflect on this transformation. There is a certain melancholy in realizing that the friendships we once valued so deeply may no longer be as vibrant. But at the same time, there is also wisdom in recognizing that life is ever changing, and so too are our needs and desires. Perhaps, in this quieter phase of life, we find a different kind of fulfillment, one that doesn't rely on the constant presence of others, but rather on the peace we create within ourselves. Those who frequently come and go in our lives often reveal themselves not to be true friends. In reality, rather than engaging in polite hypocrisy, it is often more refreshing and liberating to embrace solitude. As we age, many of us settle into our rhythms and habits, finding comfort in the familiar. For the elderly, the idea of visiting others' homes becomes less appealing, not just because of the physical and emotional toll it can take, but also because it simply doesn't fit into the ease we crave in our later years. Visiting others can sometimes bring unforeseen complications, making us more reluctant to impose ourselves on others. It's often said that in old age, less is more, and that includes the frequency of social visits. There are several reasons for this. Firstly, visiting can be seen as a disturbance. Each family has its dynamics, and as we grow older, we no longer represent just ourselves, but are part of a larger family unit. Even when a friend extends an invitation, it might not reflect the sentiment of their entire household. Sometimes, the invitation is extended out of courtesy rather than genuine desire. Take Uncle Massachusetts from next door, for example. He's a man who doesn't think much about the intricacies of social etiquette. One day, he ran into a high school classmate who lived in the same community. The discovery was delightful, and in his 60s, he felt a rush of nostalgia and joy at reconnecting with someone from his youth. His classmate invited him over for a meal and a few drinks. Uncle Ma, who loves to drink but often finds himself lacking drinking buddies, was thrilled to have a friend to visit regularly on weekends. He'd bring a few dishes and head over to his classmate's house, but he couldn't help but notice the strange look on his classmate's wife's face. Uncle Ma, being the easygoing person he is, didn't think much of it. He drank, enjoyed himself, and went home. However, after a few visits, his classmate confessed, "Every weekend you come over to drink, but my wife and children are not happy about it. They feel their life is being disturbed." This revelation hit Uncle Massachusetts hard. He had taken the initial invitation at face value, assuming he was genuinely welcome, only to realize that his presence had become a burden. Secondly, frequent visits can create trouble. In old age, one of the greatest fears is having nothing to do. Companionship can fill the empty hours, so it's natural for elderly neighbors who get along well to visit each other often. On the surface, these frequent visits seem to enrich life, adding a sense of purpose and connection. However, this can be a double-edged sword. When people gather too often, conversations can sometimes veer into uncomfortable or inappropriate territory, leading to misunderstandings or even conflicts. This is particularly true when visiting becomes routine and the novelty wears off, leaving room for petty disagreements or unspoken frustrations. In reflecting on this, I can't help but feel a deep sadness for how age changes the dynamics of our relationships. What once brought us joy, regular visits, shared meals, and lively conversations can become a source of tension and discomfort. Yet, I also understand the wisdom in recognizing these changes and adapting to them. As we grow older, our needs and desires shift, and it's essential to honor those changes, even if it means letting go of some of the social habits that once defined our lives. The peace of mind that comes from embracing solitude and simplicity can be just as fulfilling as the connections we once sought so eagerly. Miss Wong, who lives upstairs, often says, "I'd rather stay home alone watching dramas than visit others." Her words carry the weight of experience and a touch of sadness, born from a conflict with her daughter-in-law that has left a lasting impression on her. Miss Wong has always been an enthusiastic and sociable person, especially after her retirement. She found joy in joining the ladies from the community to dance in the square, a simple pleasure that brightened her days. On rainy days, when the weather kept them indoors, these same ladies would take turns visiting each other's homes to chat and share a meal. It was during one of these gatherings at Mr. Lay's home that a casual remark from Miss Wong led to unexpected consequences. As they sat together, the conversation shifted to the delicate topic of relationships with daughters-in-law. Miss Wong, perhaps feeling comfortable among friends, mentioned how her daughter-in-law lacked initiative around the house. She also commented on how marrying an only child had its drawbacks, noting that her daughter-in-law had been a bit spoiled. The remark was offhand and meant more as an observation than a complaint. However, as often happens in tight-knit communities, word traveled, and by the time it reached her daughter-in-law, the story had morphed into something far more serious. It was said that Miss Wong was deeply dissatisfied with her daughter-in-law, and that she believed her daughter-in-law had married above her station. Living under the same roof with her son and daughter-in-law, this misunderstanding created a tense and awkward atmosphere. Miss Wong wanted desperately to explain herself, to clear up the confusion, but her daughter-in-law's cold attitude made it clear that the damage had already been done. To make matters worse, her son scolded her for gossiping, leaving her feeling isolated and misunderstood in her own home. This painful experience changed Miss Wong's perspective on visiting others. What once seemed like a harmless and enjoyable way to pass the time had now become a source of anxiety. She realized that no matter how innocent a comment might seem, it could easily be twisted and misunderstood, leading to unintended hurt. Miss Wong decided that it was better to keep a bit of distance, to enjoy the companionship of dancing together, but to avoid getting too close. She came to believe that sometimes it's best to talk less about others and simply go home after the dance. In her heart, she knew that too many words could easily become tangled, and the peace of solitude began to feel more comforting than the potential complications of socializing. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment below to let me know that you are still here with me. Thirdly, differences in economic conditions can often lead to psychological imbalances, which can strain relationships, even among the elderly. While living in the same community might give the appearance of shared experiences, the reality is that each family's financial situation can vary widely. Some may be more fortunate, enjoying a higher standard of living, while others may be struggling to make ends meet. When everyone stays in their own space, these differences remain private, and there's little reason for tension. However, when families with significant economic disparities start to visit each other regularly, the differences become more apparent, and this can create an uncomfortable dynamic. The wealthier family might, even unintentionally, display a sense of superiority, which can make the less affluent family feel inadequate or envious. This isn't just an issue for the young, even the elderly can't help but compare their circumstances with those of others. It's human nature to desire a better life, and when faced with the visible signs of someone else's prosperity, it can be difficult to avoid feelings of jealousy or resentment. What should be a simple visit can quickly turn into a mental burden, fostering a sense of inadequacy or inferiority. In this context, visiting others, especially those who are better off financially, can become counterproductive. Rather than bringing people closer, it can drive a wedge between them, highlighting the economic gaps that might otherwise go unnoticed. The elderly, who are often more set in their ways and less adaptable to change, may find these feelings particularly difficult to manage. This can lead to a sense of isolation or depression, which is the opposite of what social interactions are supposed to achieve. In light of this, it's often better to focus on living your own life in peace, without the complications that can arise from frequent visits. By neither visiting others too easily nor inviting them into your home, you can maintain a sense of balance and avoid the psychological stress that comparisons can bring. After all, true peace of mind comes from contentment with what you have, rather than constantly measuring yourself against others. We can easily observe the profound changes in social behavior during festive times, a stark contrast that becomes especially apparent when we compare the past with the present. There was once a time when New Year's celebrations were filled with excitement, marked by a flurry of visits to friends and family. The tradition of exchanging warm greetings, sharing laughter, and enjoying each other's company was a cornerstone of these celebrations. These gatherings weren't just about the formalities, they were about genuine connection, a reaffirmation of the bonds that held communities and families together. There was a sense of anticipation, a joy in the air as people dressed in their best, carrying gifts or special foods to share with loved ones. However, as the years have passed, this picture has begun to fade. Nowadays, during what should be the most joyous times of the year, you might notice something different. The streets that were once bustling with visitors going from house to house now seem quieter. Many people, instead of visiting or hosting, prefer to stay at home, catching up on much-needed rest or scrolling through their phones, seemingly disengaged from the world around them. It's a subtle, yet profound shift, and it raises a thought-provoking question: have people lost interest in the traditional celebrations that were once so central to our lives? The answer isn't straightforward. It's not that people have completely lost interest in these traditions. The truth is far more complex and speaks to the overwhelming exhaustion that modern life imposes on everyone. The demands of today's world are relentless work, family responsibilities, social pressures, all of these combine to create a life that often feels like it's moving at breakneck speed. In this context, the idea of adding more social obligations, even ones rooted in tradition, can feel overwhelming. The emotional and physical fatigue that so many people experience leaves little room for the kind of genuine connection that made these celebrations meaningful in the past. What was once a joyous occasion to look forward to can now seem like just another task to add to an already long list of things to do. Instead of being a time to relax and enjoy, visiting others and engaging in social activities can feel like a burden. The warmth and sincerity that used to characterize these interactions are sometimes replaced with a sense of duty or even obligation. The pace of life has become so fast, so unyielding, that many people find themselves too drained to fully engage with the traditions that once brought them joy. This shift speaks to a deeper change in our society. Visiting others, once a natural and fulfilling part of life, can begin to feel empty or meaningless when it's done out of obligation rather than genuine desire. There is a growing sense that unless life slows down, unless we find a way to reconnect with the inner peace and tranquility that our hearts crave, these social rituals will continue to lose their significance. The hurried nature of modern life leaves little room for the deep, meaningful connections that were once the foundation of such celebrations. The unfortunate reality is that life's pace is unlikely to slow down. If anything, it seems to be speeding up. Technology, work demands, and the constant pressure to stay connected and productive are all contributing to a world that never stops moving. As a result, more and more people are retreating into solitude, finding that it offers a refuge from the constant demands of the outside world. Solitude, once something that might have been feared or avoided, is now increasingly seen as a desirable state. It allows people to recharge, reflect, and find peace in a world that can often feel chaotic and overwhelming. In solitude, there is no need to put on a facade or engage in superficial interactions. It offers a space where one can be truly oneself, free from the expectations and pressures of social conventions. For many, solitude has become the preferred lifestyle, a way to maintain balance and well-being in a world that can feel relentlessly demanding. Traditional celebrations, while still holding some place in society, are increasingly becoming more personal and introspective. The grand gatherings and social events of the past are giving way to quieter, more solitary forms of celebration, where the focus is on personal reflection and peace rather than outward displays of festivity. This change is a poignant reminder that in the face of life's relentless pace, many of us are seeking authenticity and peace in the quiet moments we carve out for ourselves. The shift from communal celebrations to more private, solitary experiences reflects a broader desire for simplicity and tranquility in an increasingly complex and fast-paced world. As we navigate this new reality, it's important to recognize that these changes aren't necessarily negative. They are part of the natural evolution of how we live and relate to each other, shaped by the demands and challenges of modern life. In this sense, the growing preference for solitude may be seen not as a retreat from life, but as a way to find deeper meaning and fulfillment in a world that often feels overwhelming. In conclusion, while traditional celebrations may continue in some form, the way people participate in them is changing. The emphasis is shifting from external displays of festivity to more personal, introspective experiences. This change reflects a broader trend towards valuing peace, simplicity, and authenticity in a world that is constantly in motion. As we move forward, these trends will likely continue, shaping the way we connect and find meaning in our lives. Solitude, once considered a lonely or undesirable state, is now increasingly embraced as a source of strength and clarity in a world that often feels chaotic and overwhelming. If you are still watching this video and find these lessons useful, please comment 3 below to let me know that you are still here with me. Many people today find that they prefer solitude over the complexities of social interactions. When we were young, the concept of solitude often seemed foreign and even uncomfortable. Back then, we might have equated being alone with being lonely, thinking it was a sign of having no friends, which could feel embarrassing or even shameful. But as we grow older, we begin to understand that solitude is not about loneliness, it's about finding peace within ourselves. The living well for oneself amidst the complexities and challenges of life can be seen as one of the greatest successes. It's a realization that comes with age and experience, understanding that the colder and more demanding life becomes, the warmer and more precious our love for our family should be. While it's perfectly acceptable to be indifferent to outsiders, our sincerity and warmth should be reserved for those closest to us. As we enter old age, it becomes inevitable that we will have contact with a few friends and family members. However, the need to visit others' homes becomes less appealing, and for good reason. If we wish to gather with loved ones, it's often better to meet in a neutral place outside the home. This not only lightens the physical burden of hosting, but also avoids the mental stress that can come from feeling obligated to entertain. It's a win-win situation where everyone can enjoy each other's company without the pressures that often come with hosting guests in your own home. There's no longer a need to rush around preparing for visitors, which can cause unnecessary physical strain and stress within the family. In old age, hosting guests can be more tiring than enjoyable, and the pressure to accommodate others can lead to unnecessary troubles. It's essential to recognize that learning to be alone is a vital skill, especially as we grow older. As time passes, people around us may gradually leave, whether through distance, differences, or the natural course of life. Adapting to solitude not only helps us face the challenges of aging, but also prepares us to handle the future with grace and resilience. Being comfortable with our own company is not just about enjoying peace, it's about cultivating a strong inner world that can sustain us through life's inevitable ups and downs. In solitude, we find the strength to reflect on our lives, to appreciate the moments we've lived, and to prepare ourselves for what lies ahead. It's a space where we can focus on our well-being, free from the distractions and demands of social expectations. By embracing solitude, we empower ourselves to live more fully and authentically, appreciating the relationships that truly matter while letting go of the superficial ones. In conclusion, solitude in old age isn't something to be feared or avoided. Instead, it's a powerful tool for maintaining mental and emotional health, allowing us to navigate the later stages of life with clarity and peace. While social interactions still have their place, they need not dominate our lives or cause unnecessary stress. By choosing to meet loved ones in settings that don't require the burdens of hosting, and by learning to be content in our own company, we can enjoy a more fulfilling and less complicated life. Solitude, when embraced, becomes not a sign of loneliness, but a mark of wisdom and inner strength, allowing us to face the future with confidence and serenity. As we reflect on everything we've discussed, it's clear that embracing solitude and understanding the balance between social interactions and personal peace is essential, especially as we age. We've explored how the pressures of modern life and the inevitable changes that come with growing older can shape our preferences and priorities. Now, we'd love to hear from you. What have you learned from this discussion? Is there one insight that resonated with you, something you plan to bring into your own life? Please take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this video helpful, Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content like this. Your support helps us continue to bring valuable insights to our community. Thank you for watching.